Welcome back to the podcast, New Birth Fitness family. We're back at it again with another one. My name is Shiloh Bryant, and this is my wife,
Danny.
And here we're all about empowering moms to transform lives and change the world. Well, we've covered a lot of different topics up here already on the podcast, and I think every single podcast episode has been impactful in its own way, and this one isn't any less, if not much more.
So the topic that we're going to be touching on today in this podcast is something that, is not only touching us and our community and, some people that we're very close to, but it's something that, we deal with, worldwide. So we never really imagined or thought that we would be making a podcast episode, about anything like this, related to this. But we feel like it's the perfect time and, in memory of somebody that was very close to us in our community. This week, we and, a mother that was very close to us, that has started her journey about 3 years ago. She lost her son. She lost her son to suicide. And, in these difficult times, it's very difficult, for the family and for her. But for us, it's how do we make sure that he lives on and
make sure he lives on forever.
Yeah, and that, none of this is in vain. September is actually Suicide Awareness Month. And no better way that we can do our part than to be able to share, his life, his story. And obviously, with permission of the mother.
Yeah.
And everything that she's going through, just talking about the different things that could help anybody that has either gone through this situation, to be able to possibly prevent it in their family, and as well as how to deal with some of these things, because we've all gone through difficult situations, but there's no way that we could imagine if you haven't been through it, what it feels like to lose a child. And unfortunately, these situations, it brings you closer to your loved ones and the people that you love. But why not be able to share awareness, even when it's not difficult situations like this that have to happen?
Yeah, a lot of different situations came out of this. For starters, give you a little background. Assis is the name of the son that the mother lost. So Yadi is the mother. And it was a client of mine that I've been training for years who made a lot of results and a lot of progress. And through her getting results and this kind of progress, her son actually started working out with us as well. And I seen him go from a kid that had no confidence at all, walking with his head down, just kind of in his own world, to literally, and he was overweight. And seeing his body transform, his mind transform, to where he go from, I don't want to take any pictures at all, to he's flexing in the mirror. And you can see just the way he walks, he has a different aura about him. So seeing this kind of transformation in 2 years, where he like a night and day different person, even just in the way he speaks and everything. And so just seeing that growth and transition. So then, of course, to hear, down the road that he took his life, that hit us hard. It made us even have some very uncomfortable conversations, even with our own kids. It's so easy to not have these kind of conversations or even just think about them. And when moments happen like this, we had to say to ourselves, is this something that we want to even mention to our kids? Because our kids are 6 and 9 years old. So it's so easy to be like, well, they're just kids, let them be kids. Right? But when you do that, I told my wife, I'm like, we really want to live life to not really have regrets. Of course, everybody's going to have regrets in some kind of way. But the more things you can do with foresight to say, I'd rather do this and have this uncomfortable conversation so that there's no possibility of regret later. What if one of our children was to kind of think the same way and we're like, wow, what if we would have had this conversation? Could that have changed the situation?
And, based off of certain people that have, received the news, we've already heard, the impact that he has created in them,
Yep.
not just for us and the conversations that we are able to have, with our kids, but also as mothers, we know. We know when our kids are going through hard times. We see the highs, we see the lows, and sometimes it's something that we really can't imagine, that would happen. But being able to be one step ahead, maybe, and have the conversations of, you know, what would this imply? How would we feel? How would the family feel? Because sometimes it doesn't matter how much love you pour, into your family, because this particular mom, there is nothing,
Yep.
that anybody could say about her other than she's a great person and she's an even better mother.
Hmm.
She was the type of mom that, she had to do it herself, in many situations, but she made sure that her children had everything
Yep.
that they needed, and even being closer to the family and, speaking to them, um, her knowing that her son loved her very much, so
And he made sure that we're not going to tell the whole story, but he made sure to make sure she knew that he loved her and it had nothing to do with her
hmm
at all. And that even shows his foresight of thinking ahead and making sure even his siblings were aware and knew that, hey, he loved them and it had nothing to do with anybody.
hmm
So we had to even sit there and think about our life. And yeah, like she mentioned, we've heard so many people already like Assis changed our life. I looked at him from afar and his transformation, and he made me start my journey, or he's making me want to start my journey now, or I'm having conversations with my kids. So it's like already seeing the enormous impact
hmm
that's already happening, and it's just the beginning. So why he was here, but even after him being gone, how he's going to live on even more.
yeah. And sometimes these really difficult situations, they shape the rest of our lives. So we know that, him not being here, he will be greatly missed, but there is purpose in all of
Hmm.
this. There's purpose, in his life. There's purpose in the inspiration that he's creating now and the awareness. Because what's going on now could be the reason why somebody else, doesn't have to mourn their child. And a lot of times it starts at home. It starts, with the mom, and also, how open your children feel like they can speak to you about anything. When we came to our oldest son, and we spoke to him about it, he started breaking down and crying, because he is very much of an overthinker. He's very much of an overachiever. He's very much of the child that he wants to be perfect. And, just looking at that situation is like, as a mother, is there something, that I can do to make him feel like it doesn't matter what you do, what grades you make, what you have going on, difficult situations, that we've been through in the past. Divorce is definitely not easy on a child, um, but having that openness to come and talk to me about anything, and even though you may know that the child knows he can come and talk, or she can come to talk to you, maybe they won't do it, out
Hmm.
of fear,
Yep.
or out of, I don't want my parent to feel bad.
Could be judgment. It
hmm
could be self-worth. It could be
hmm
so many different things. I don't want them because now they're going to be looking at me this type of
Yeah,
way.
or now they're going to
You
be
know.
looking at me all the time,
Hmm.
like, checking up on me, and I don't want it to be uncomfortable. But sometimes, as parents, we know, what our kids go through, because there are situations that not only affect the children, but they affect us. They affect us first, and the kids are secondary, to those circumstances that are affecting. So it's really just being very intentional and being very vigilant about those sudden changes that a child might have. Being overly affectionate sometimes, you know. Um,
And it's hard because it's easy for somebody to say, "Oh, I should have saw this. I should have seen this." And in many cases, it's just not that way. Like
mhm,
we literally recorded a whole video for our YouTube channel on the Friday before,
mhm,
and just a couple of days later, he wasn't here anymore. Like, and you look at the video, he looks happy. He's
mhm,
just joking with his mom. We're showing his transformation journey,
mhm,
and it's a special moment. And even when I look at that situation, like how God lays things out,
mhm,
if we didn't already start the podcast, if we didn't already start the YouTube videos and different things of that nature, we wouldn't even have a platform to even push his name out there in the way we're doing right now to make sure he lives on forever. So
yeah,
sometimes the things that you're holding back on, your dreams, your aspirations, actually could be affecting a lot of other people by you not starting on what you need to do now versus
mhm,
waiting for later. What if we didn't have all of this right now?
mhm,
Okay, we can do one social media post and then that's it. But now we can do our part to help him live on more and help impact others because he impacted us a lot.
mhm,
He impacted us more than he knows. He impacting our kids right now more than he knows.
mhm. And it's part of making an impact is what can you do in the life of others, while they're still here, so whether that is reaching out to a family member that you haven't spoken to in a long time, or maybe you are holding a grudge, or maybe it is something where it's just so insignificant, but just making that difference now, because you never know when is the last time that you'll be able to, talk to them, to give them a hug. It definitely made me hug my children, tighter, even making me want to, go see family that I haven't seen in a long time. Um, and just making an impact now. Why wait? And this is something that, is really brought to our attention, the kind of impact that you can create, before something like this happens. And I think even, his mother expressing how much he loved the gym, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I definitely commend you, and I think that you played a very important role in, his life and the things that he loved to do, the things that probably kept him going for a long time. It was something that you could see how good he felt about himself, how good, it just, his mom saying he loved the gym, so the time that he was here and even sharing that with his mom, I remember them coming in here and like it was almost like a little battle, like how
Mm-hmm.
much weight
I
can you
remember.
push, how much, oh, or you got this, or you need to keep going, them
Mm-hmm.
encouraging each other. And that was really beautiful to see
He's still not
because
stronger than your mama though. That's the way that in the beginning, that conversation, the
exactly.
competition, and you start seeing him start, wait, he's lifting a little bit more here. Wait, he's lifting more.
Yeah. And
It's
I'm
just,
sure, like, I'm positive that his mom was the one that motivated him all through it to be,
mhm.
first of all, like, you're not gonna beat me.
Yeah.
Like, my mom ain't about to beat me. But also, just the lifestyle and what it meant probably for him in the moments where he was dealing with something, to just be able to come to the gym and let it go. We don't know, how long he had been thinking about this,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that you played a very important role in him, staying with us.
Even to see his impact of his younger brother,
Mhm,
to go from being in the gym with me training him to him learning all these things to where now me seeing him in the distance. Now he's training himself and he's doing it all, still getting results. And then to see his little brother, because I used to train his little brother a little bit too,
mhm,
and they were all in here, but he was kind of in here, here and there. But to
mhm,
see his brother coming in consistently and him now training his brother.
mhm,
So because of his mom starting the example and showing how it's done first, now it's following down the line of them picking up the discipline, the
mhm.
confident thing. So it's easy to sleep on the impact you can have by doing the things that you're passionate about and pushing forward on goals.
Yeah. And, even for his mom, I know that it's going to be very difficult, for her to go through this time. And it's going to take a lot of healing, but we're certain that even, the memory of him loving the gym, the memory of, them sharing that time together is going to motivate her, to just reach the goals that she's been, striving for. And, our heart and our prayers are out for her. in this difficult time. But we know that sometimes in life, things like this, when something really bad happens, it impacts your whole life, but it's what pushes you to be better. It's
Mm-hmm.
what pushes you to even raise awareness or make an
Yep.
impact or do something that has a bigger purpose than what you ever thought your life would have. So for anybody that has lost somebody, what does that truly mean to you in your life? How does it, affect your life? Not just in the moment, but how does it affect it in the future? You know, um, Being able to make light of it, making sure that it is something that will always live with you, because I feel like that first initial pain and grief really doesn't have a time clock.
When it's in the moment and that pain is happening, it's like, why is this happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it. It doesn't make any kind of sense. This is happening to me of all people. Or why did this happen to
Mm-hmm.
that person? Because they were the most amazing person. And sometimes that's the ones that cause the most impact.
Mm-hmm.
So even just being able to watch back the YouTube video that we recorded on Friday and hear the conversation that even me and her had at the end of the video,
Mm-hmm.
like, it was just like, wow, literally us having the conversation of, things have to get harder before they get better. She's like, yeah, that's in everything. And I'm like, so yeah, so no matter what the situation is, first, when you're looking at it, it's like, it's too hard. I don't know how I'm going to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, it's like, no matter how hard the situation is and how dark and bad it is in the moment, it's all about how you respond to what happened. Your reaction to what happens is the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
Because one person could take this really hard situation and say, you know what? I barely want to be here myself. Another person say, you know what? I'm just going to let my body go. I'm just going to let my mind go. Hey, I'm just done with all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And another person can say, I'm going to use this as fuel to go forward on all the things that person cared about, all the things I really care about, to push it out there more, to be like, you know what? I'm going to have a complete transformation. I'm going to be the best version of myself. So there's people all around the world that have had the same experience or even worse, and they still find a way to turn it into a positive note. That's hard in the moment to
Mm-hmm.
see over that hill, to say, I can turn in that. But if you stick with it and just keep putting your best foot forward as much as possible, and having a strong support system
Mm-hmm.
is very helpful. And if you don't have one in those dark times, find one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being a part of groups so that you're not only in your own thoughts and your own feelings is very important.
Yeah.
Because we even told our son, and he was crying. It's like, a big part of why these things happen is focusing on the bad aspect of what happened. And now you're so focused on that one spot that's really hard, that you really don't like, that now everything else becomes very small. That thing you focus on turns into a forest fire, and then everything else becomes very small. So if you
Mm-hmm.
focus on that, now you don't get to see the value of anything else. Of course, it's like, why should I be here?
Mm-hmm.
Why should I go further? But the impact alone, and everybody that's being hit by this, and even in the good ways, like, wow, he's the most amazing person. He don't know how much I look up to him. It's very powerful to see that spread, like to see like, wow, yeah, we love them. Wow, yes, mom is amazing. To see the positivity,
Mm-hmm.
but we want to get to a place where we're okay with having these uncomfortable conversations before bad things happen. Is that to say it's going to stop things from happening? No, it doesn't necessarily mean things are going to stop. It could, but just the fact that it could is worth having the conversation. Because even if it's
Absolutely.
not just for that moment, it could be for somebody else. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that you're having the conversation. That's why even right now we're having the conversation, as uncomfortable as it is, as uncomfortable as it was to talk to our kid that's not even 10 years old yet about it. It's like, it's worth it,
Mm-hmm.
because you never know.
Mm-hmm.
You never know when you get an opportunity to have that conversation again.
Yeah.
You know, we go from recording a video on Friday to a couple of days later, supposed to be training his mom at the gym. And then I get a call saying, hey, I'm not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, at that point, you don't even know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Assis is gone? What do you mean? So, yeah, just cherishing your loved ones, letting them know it's a safe space, that they can come to you at any time, and just being there. Like I said, living a life where you're attacking as many issues as possible before they even issue.
Mm-hmm.
But still, you can't think of everything. You can't, like, wow, I could have thought of that. No. but God has a reason for everything. God had a reason why we were all meant to be together in the video together. For now, this is something that the mom can come back at any time and see her banner with her kid, him playing around, him having a good time, their conversation together. This is something that now lives on forever.
Mm-hmm.
That anytime hey, I'm here. Of course, when it first happened, she's off social media, not really, just kind of staying close to family. And I said, when you're ready, watch the video that just came out. It's going to take you through an array of emotions. You're going to be sad. You're going to be happy. You're going to be your
Laughing.
thoughts, laughing. You're going to be all emotions. And after she watched, she was like, wow, thank you. And I definitely was laughing and crying and so I'm like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just everybody doing their part to be there as a support system right now for her is a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even for anybody that's going through the loss of somebody, a loved one or a child, a spouse, a partner, um, really leaning into that support system, because the worst thing that you could do in a moment like that is to completely isolate yourself. And most of the time, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to just be left alone. We want to be left in our feelings. We want to be able to cry. And that's okay. You might need a moment to do that. But, just making sure that you're not disconnected, from the world, because when you're in your thoughts, and it just keeps looping, and you don't really find answers, because there is no answer sometimes. We don't understand why.
That's literally why we
It's
created this community,
mm-hmm,
from the podcast to the YouTube to the Facebook group and more things on the ways. Because for moms, one of the hardest things that can happen is losing a child,
mm-hmm,
right? So imagine what if you're a person that doesn't really have any good family or friends, or,
mm-hmm,
you don't have anybody to really speak to. Well, now you have a community of other mothers who have been through some of the same things or know somebody who went through the same things. Imagine being able to talk to somebody else in the community, and this is your family.
yeah,
So now you can't say, hey, we don't have anybody. You can come talk to us.
yeah,
So it's a space to leave opportunity for getting through pain and growth. And that's why it's not just about fitness. Fitness is a part that is huge, but even more so, your mindset, your emotion, it all ties in together. When you're working out in the gym or at home, if you look at it as it's only fitness or only the gym, then that's all you get. But anybody that's ever trained with me knows that
mm-hmm,
I'm really big on mindset, and that's the most important part because it ties into everything else.
mm-hmm,
We're just using the gym as a tool to show you what you're capable of, to help you go through that process and see transformation yourself.
mm-hmm. Even in these hard times, trying to find the words to say to somebody, and really there's, words. So, knowing your background and things that you've been through, I spoke to your mom, and I asked her, I said, what are the things that, you can say to somebody that's going through this? Because, my husband, maybe a lot of you guys don't know, but he lost a sister when he was 5. And, for a mother, that is like the most unimaginable pain. And she said, there's nothing really that makes it better. There's nothing that anybody can say, you know. It's going to take time for you to be able to, get through that pain and even be able to speak about it, or, for it to not cause, tears right away. She was like, but definitely having that support system, and definitely, leaning into God in those moments where you don't understand, because there's going to be a time where nobody is around anymore. All the people that came, and gave their respects are going to have to move on. They're going to have to live their life, and you're going to have to live yours. She was like, but one of the most important things, that kept me going was my son. And she was like, when I would see Shy, and I would look at him and I would say, I have to keep living, for this child, not just because I lost one. I can't just let myself go and, not give this child what he needs. So she was just saying there's different things that are going to be the reason why you can push through, whether that's your support system, whether that's God, whether that's family members, or even kids that you have that that you have to be there for, because not everybody has the same level of strength. Sometimes you see somebody and you're like, I need to be just as strong as them,
Mm-hmm.
So I guess just maybe from your perspective, coming from the point of having to not only deal with, the pain and the hurt yourself, but watching your mom go through that. And I know that that's a situation where Asisa's, younger brother and older sister are going to have to, you know, go through. So what would you say, to them and, to that experience that you had?
So, I mean, for starters, that's why, I was very adamant about telling the mom as well as the daughter and Amir that, hey, I am here for you if you need it. And this is like when you need it, whatever. You know how sometimes people will just say, yeah, I'm here if you need it, and then they really don't mean it. I made sure to be like, no, I'm serious. Reach out to me. Don't have any kind of hesitation. Here's my number.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know what that felt like. It can leave a space that's kind of empty
Mm-hmm.
when you're like, wow, I used to have this conversation with them every single day after I got out of school,
Mm-hmm.
or wow, just the house seems a little bit empty now. Those feelings can come about,
Mm-hmm.
so giving them a space to say, hey, don't just get in your thoughts, don't just get in your mind. I'm here too.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about my situation when I was younger, I mean, for starters, my mom didn't really allow me to see her cry.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't really allow me to see her in pain. As much as, thinking back on it now, I know she was in pain, but at the same time, I had never actually seen it. Actually, I never really seen my mom cry until I was actually going off to college.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time I seen her crying. It's like, hmm, it hit different to see her just like,
Her
break
baby.
down. Yeah. And it's like happy tears,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So she showed, hey, I'm strong, I'm this, So really for me, it was me doing all the crying.
Mm-hmm.
I was crying for no less than 3 months straight, almost every single day because of the pain. It went from my sister being literally almost like my second mom. On the weekend, mom's still asleep. She'd come out, fix me food. We watch shows together.
Mm-hmm.
I popped the heads off of her baby dolls and the legs. I might shouldn't have been doing that, but but we had a great interaction. I can't remember the exact ages, but I was about 5, maybe she was about 10, 11, somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm.
So that was about our gap. And it was rough. I felt very empty at that time. And the way I painted the story in my head was it made me grow up faster. It made me not really laugh at a lot of things. It made me look at things a lot different. Where it almost felt like I was a grown little man in a way.
Yeah, force you to grow up
Yeah,
faster.
it forced me to grow up way faster. And the way I spent it, some people would be really hurt with, but I actually spend it into strength is the way I looked at it. Like if it wasn't for this situation to happen, I wouldn't be the man I am today. And when I got older, it actually wasn't until we went to something called generational self-discovery. Me and Danny went to it together. And it wasn't until that point where I realized the story I had painted, I never let anybody get close enough to be able to love me. I kept everybody at a distance outside of my immediate family, like my mom, my dad, and siblings, nobody else. Because the way I looked at it was if I let somebody get close enough, then that means I can be hurt again. Because if my sister can be here, we could be here in a hotel in Myrtle Beach, and 1 second she's here, next second she's laying on the floor. If that can happen, why would I want to go through that pain again? So the way I block myself from having that pain is not having any close relationships. And you don't realize how much that actually hurts you in another way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to have any genuine connections. You don't get to have a wife. You don't get to have kids, like if you keep down that path. So Danny was actually the first time I've ever loved anybody. When I finally realized that I'm actually creating another cycle that isn't good for my health or actually the people around me. So no matter how bad your situation is, you have to remember you are painting a story in your head, and how you see that situation can affect you for the rest of your life. A lot of time people are still this 4-year old, they're still this 5-year old version of themselves, and they're living that now and they're 30, 40, 50 years old versus going back to really think about, why am I making these kind of choices? Why do I feel so hurt by this situation?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I had to do. I had to look, wow, this whole time I've been doing it because of this event. And it's not a event that can be big or small. Like for somebody else, it could be a person was almost drowned in the ocean. And so, and somebody saved them. So now the way they view the picture is, because that person saved me, now every single time I'm in a bad situation, I'm looking for somebody to save me
Mm-hmm.
instead of finding a way to get out of it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So don't minimize or maximize somebody's situation. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody handles it in a different way. But the main thing is realizing, this is why I am how I am. Now, what am I willing to do to get to a different place?
Yeah.
So first you got to even be aware of it and recognize what's going on. Once you get to a place of being aware and recognize it, now you have to be intentional about, what am I going to do to spend this so that I can have a better life for me, my family, my kids, my loved ones, and whoever matters to me.
Yeah. And you never really know the power of your vulnerability,
Mm,
because I feel like even with us, it all started with being able to come from a safe place and be vulnerable. Who knows if I wouldn't have opened up to you about, so many vulnerable topics, if you would have got to the place of being able to share that with me
yep.
and to be able to open up in those ways with me. So, never disregard, and it's challenging sometimes, but never underestimate the power of your vulnerability,
It's
because that
huge.
could be the very thing that could unlock everything that you've been looking for in
Yeah,
life.
because a lot of people think that strength is, I'm showing that, hey, I'm untouchable and none of this stuff hurts me. It's
Mm-hmm.
showing this, and then you're collapsing at home when you're not in the public face. It's like, no, strength isn't acting like you're okay when you're really not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Strength in many cases is being vulnerable in places where most people would not be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Having strength to say, I actually do feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am going through this, but I'm not going to let it stop me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to find a way to push through it anyway.
Yeah.
And we know that's exactly what Yadi's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
We know exactly that's exactly what that mom is going to do. Is it going to be hard? Is it going to be difficult? Yes. But we are making sure, she's making sure that Asis's name is going to live on forever.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the reason why I pause like that, I'm just thinking about, I remember telling Danny, like, man, he's going to be something special.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, I can't wait to see what kind of man he turns into, you know? But yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Mm-mm.
He's still here with us now.
Yeah, he's living through us, us
I'm thankful
sharing.
for everything he gave us.
Yeah, he
Learned a
gave
lot.
us, a huge testimony, of what it was to, even love that hard,
Yeah.
because even in these circumstances, he made sure to let his mom know how much he loved him.
Yeah.
So, this is something that comes from the bottom of our heart. It's who we are, and creating impact and being able to add value to anybody that needs it in their life, and to hopefully inspire others, hopefully motivate people that are going through anything similar. And, um, having somebody, that you can come to, a community that you can come to, where we're not just speaking about regular gym things, things that happen in fitness, but things that happen in life, things that impact real life moms, things that impact children. Because when we are able to get these messages out, we're able to impact other mothers, they'll impact their children, and just impacting the world.
And it's important because if you don't have those other things in place, like your mindset, support system, all the things going on around you, it's almost near impossible to get in shape. It's almost near impossible. Hey, I'm in the gym. Hey, I'm working on myself,
Mm-hmm.
because your mind is all over the place. So that's why we're so big on mindset and personal development, and not even just the gym. Because once you have those other things in play, you're like, oh wow, now I'm more consistent on this. Now I'm more consistent on this because I'm not just working on the surface level stuff. I'm working on what's deeper too.
Yeah. And that's exactly where our brand came from. You know, even new birth. What does new birth mean?
Yep.
It means, you know, the birth of a new life.
New beginnings.
New beginnings. You know, even in this exact moment, we know that for this family, it's going to be the beginning of a new life. Everything is going to be different. But what you do from this point on, when you make the decision of, I'm going to focus on my mindset, I'm going to focus on all the things that are going to make me better, really just leaning into that and just seeing it through. What does that mean for you? You know, what kind of life can you recreate? You know, what kind of life can you start from right now?
Yeah, because it doesn't matter what you've been through. The other chapters of your book are not finished yet. They're still being wrote right now in this very moment. So how do you want your book to look? When you lay your head to rest, what do you want people to look back and say about you? And that's highly important to us. So,
I'm just very thankful, you know, for the initiative that you took, you know, even 12 years ago, more than 12 years ago, to start doing something that you were passionate about. Maybe you could have never imagined that this is where it was going to go. But thanks to that, you know, now we have a community, we have a platform, and we have a way to put this message out there for you guys. So thank you. And, you know, we look
thank
forward.
you for being here with me. Thank you.
We look forward to sharing, you know, a lot of, you know, incredible testimonies and so many stories on the way. But for now, you know, we're going to be here supporting and doing what we can to make sure that Asisa's name lives on.
Yeah, because this is not a sad moment.
Nope.
This is a happy moment. Like, this is the launch pad that's going to define a lot of people's life. This isn't just, oh, it's a dark place. Oh, it's going to sit in. No, like, I told my wife, like, the passion and the fire is burning even harder now. Like, this is, okay, we're on the right path. We need to lean into this even more. So for us, it's more gasoline to the fire.
Right.
So let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's love together, New Birth Fitness family. On that note, let's end this podcast. We'll be back with another one before you know it.
See you next time.
See you. Yeah. Let me stop.